G'day, Kris here, and we're going to be asking the question, should you play Atomic Heart? I'm going to spoil the whole thing right here. There are so many major problems with this game, from plot lines to just buggy gameplay to just complete and utter jank. I had such a not bad time, but bumpy time playing this game. So let's just talk about the game. What's the game? Atomic Heart is a Bioshock immersive sim game. What's an immersive sim? It's a game where you're trying to get as immersed as possible in the game, and to do that they give you as many options as possible, lots of audio logs, lots of text logs, just lots and lots of world building, enough to make you just fully invest into this world and understand the world deeply. They also give you choices, whether to do stealth, whether to do aggressive, whether to just ignore the fight altogether. Does Atomic Heart succeed in being an immersive sim? For the most part, no, because the stealth option is literally off the table straight away. This usually happens in most immersive sims. They give you the stealth option, but the stealth option just never works. And it's usually fine in most games because it doesn't affect the main ending. It doesn't affect the main ending in Atomic Heart. But in a game like Dishonored, where there is literally a different ending for stealthing the entire game, it kinda gets annoying when there is stealth elements. How the stealth elements work in Atomic Heart is you crouch and you sneak up behind an enemy and you knock them out and then you kill them. It's not great because, well, one, enemy AI is completely unpredictable. There's no like patrolling pattern that they do, and sometimes they'll just notice you because they do a random 360 spin for literally no reason. So does it pass on immersive sim? It fails immersive sim. So what is it instead? It is, quite frankly, a worse Doom Eternal game. Really bad example, but it might as well just be a first-person shooter with extra steps. What sort of abilities does this game give you to make it like Bioshock and System Shock? Well, it gives you plasmids, except for instead of plasmids, you just have a water pistol, an ice pistol, and an electric pistol. And that's it. They have mass telekinesis and a few others, but why would you ever use them? They're just pointless compared to just pointing and clicking your gun. There is a pretty interesting melee combat in this game, where the enemy flashes yellow, you have to dodge when it's flashing yellow. Other times you just circle straight around them and keep whacking them in the back. Melee in this game feels terrible. Just god awful, because you have no idea where your character is, you have no idea where the enemy character is, because first person melee never works. Literally, I've never seen first person melee be good. The only game they get somewhat competent in first person melee is a Mount and Blade game, which is a PvP game where it's designed to be more about counterplay, about blocking directional attacks, rather than being a, first person melee game. This just does not hit that mark. So let's more talk about the plot. Atomic Heart set in Russia back in the 1970s, maybe late 60s. Hard to really say, because a lot of logs around 1967 to 1969, so I'm going to say it's 1969. I'm not going to look it up because I don't really care. And essentially what happened was, during World War II, some crazy scientists came up with some crazy technology that somehow fixes all energy problems, fixes all usage problems, which makes machines just possible, which makes like artificial intelligence possible, which makes sentient life possible, and just robots in general. And it's just ridiculous. So you ignore that straight away and go, okay, this is a fantasy world with fantasy abilities and fantasy robots. Got it. With a Russian theme. Your main character is P3, who is a nickname, which is very story driven behind it. And you have a companion called Charles. And Charles is an AI that has a library of information, and he is meant to be guiding you throughout the game, giving you objective markers, telling you where to go, what to do, when to do it. And those are your two main characters. You then meet up with several other characters. I say meet up, you see them for like a grand total of like 20 minutes throughout the entire game, and that's just in cutscenes only, and you don't really interact with them except for one character who is the doctor lady. So we got our main characters, which is the leader of the Russian intelligence / Academy of Science. We then have the second-hand man to the Academy of Science. We then have the third-hand man of the Academy of Science. We have a doctor lady, and we have an old biddy. Those are all the characters, and they all have intrinsic ties to either the main character or the talking hand character. This game has pretty decent combat flow for the most part, except for when you're doing the combat flow, you find it easier just to sort of cheat the combat. What I ended up doing was using the Tesla rifle sort of thing, and you charge it up and it shoots a ball of Tesla energy and just damages every enemy in the room. You then run to the other side of the room and shoot it back from the other side of the room and kills all the enemies. That was my main go-to, and then we would hit bosses where that strategy wouldn't work. Bosses in this game are the worst. They just come out of nowhere and they are just bullet sponges, and they just have no rhyme or reason to their attacks. The first major boss you fight is a roly-poly boss that's meant to be like a garden robot, I guess. It's meant to be like a terraforming robot, and it completely bugged the fight because you're meant to like open up these pillars that make it run to a wall, and then it gets weakened and exposed, and then you hit it while it's weak. But for me, the first wall opened up, which was to start the boss fight, but then the things that meant to pop up to open up the other walls just never popped up. And so I was just going, okay, I guess this is just a fight, and I died, and then I started the fight again, and then I could pop up these barriers to fight the boss. And it's just annoying. So I don't know if I was doing any of the boss fights correctly. I was just cheesing the fuck out of them because I had no idea what I was meant to do in any boss fight. I was just hoping for the best. They give you this scanner thing that you're meant to use to like find out weaknesses, but it doesn't pause the game, and it doesn't really tell you the weaknesses unless you like focus on an enemy for like a period of time, which I can't do that while I'm fighting. At least in Bioshock, you would take the pictures of the enemy and I'd go, A+ picture. The game would pause and then it'll give you a bunch of points and they'll tell you, this is the weaknesses this creature has. Use these. All of it was pointless in Bioshock because they were all weak to just bullets. And in Atomic Heart, it's the same thing. They're all weak to bullets. There's like two major enemy types. There's your robot enemy type, and then there's your organic enemy type. And robots, guess what? They're weak to electricity. And organics, guess what? They're weak to electricity. Yes, that's right. They're both weak to the exact same thing. They're both literally the same enemy, just a different art aesthetic. It's just frustrating when you're fighting any enemy in this game because they'll just do random crap at random times. There was these like chainsaw, like they're meant to be like drop saws, except for they're robots and sentient for some reason. And they would do this attack where they would like lean backwards, and you're meant to be like doing a dodge animation for this, but they would go through walls. They would just do it when you're not looking at them, and it was just so annoying. I couldn't believe how badly designed they were. And then they would do like a spin thing, and it would just be like a quarter of a second and they're already doing the animation and you're getting hit and you're getting knocked down. And it's just incredibly frustrating. There was these other robots that could like make shields, and for the life of me, I have no idea what you're meant to do to make them drop their shield. Occasionally they'll drop their shield when I shot the center of the shield with a gun, and then it wouldn't work on the next enemy, and then I would think electrify them and it wouldn't work on the next enemy. I tried freezing them and then it wouldn't work on the next enemy. It just had literally no rhyme or reason for any enemy AI. The only enemy AI that actually worked was the human spawner. I don't actually know if that's what it was called, but it's basically a guy with a giant parasite on its back, and it would shoot out little parasites that would then affect human bodies, that would turn them into parasitic drones that would run straight at you. And he would sort of like stay back and like shoot projectiles at you. He had a very consistent AI for me. I could shoot this polymer water on the ground and electrify the polymer water, and he would be permanently stunned for the whole fight. So I could just run up behind him and go whack with the axe and he would die in 2 hits. It was great once I worked it out, but for the most part it didn't matter that I knew his weakness, because in a lot of fights, difficulty is just throwing massive amount of enemies at you. So you're constantly going, well, what the fuck? Why are you doing this? It was frustrating. What other things? There's another boss fight where we're fighting a robot with 8 eyes and it shot fire. This boss fight just sucked because it had just a fuck ton of HP and all you had was a giant arena to run around in. There was another boss fight where it was just a fat robot, and it was the exact same boss fight as the robot with 8 eyes, except for instead of shooting fire everywhere, it would spin its arms a bunch. And it was just frustrating because it's a giant bullet sponge, which means these boss fights, which would be fun if they were like, 2-3 minutes, they end up being like 10-15 minutes of me just wailing on the boss over and over and over again, hoping to kill it. And it's just... Another boss is, well, they were these like red worm monsters. They felt like they were smack out of Resident Evil. They're just literally like parasite monsters, and it just sucked to verse this thing because it ended up being a regular enemy and it had a giant health bar, and you could not kill it quickly. Even if you're using the axe, which had bonus damage to organics, it would still like do a tiny sliver of health every single hit that you did to it. I don't know if the other melee weapons are better in this game. I didn't make any other melee weapons because I already had an axe, and I'm like, why would I make another melee weapon when I already got a melee weapon? What the fuck? What are you trying to push me into other melee weapons? If you want me to use the other melee weapon, at least give it to me straight away instead of making me craft it and making me go, oh, that was the shit melee weapon, I shouldn't have crafted it. Like, just give it to me, There's several range weapons. The range weapons were actually fairly decent. You had like your basic plasma gun, which is just a basic pistol, except for it uses mana instead of bullets. And you have your normal pistol, which uses bullets instead of mana. You then have a shotgun, which uses shotgun shells. You have your plasma gun, which uses mana. You then have a AK, which uses bullets. You then have a railgun, which I didn't get, I didn't make, I have no idea what it does. You then have a rocket launcher, which shoots rockets. And there was one other range weapon. No, actually that was all of them, because the railgun I didn't use, that was the other one. I wanted to know what the railgun was, but in order to get the railgun, you had to go and do a side quest. Which brings me to a huge annoyance. When I was playing the game, I wanted to open the map. I press M to open the map. First of all, it doesn't pause the game when you're trying to open the map, so you get hit while you're trying to open the map, which sucks. Second of all, when you open the map, it says, sorry, can't give you details. You're not in the open area. I look up, I'm literally in an open area. I could use the map literally 1 mile down the road. Why can't I use the map here? So I just gave up on doing any side quests. I just gave up on it because I was pissed off at the game at that point. I was just like, that's it, I'm done. No more side quests, only critical path. And that's what I did. So from this point on, spoilers. I'm going to spoil everything about the game. If you want to play it, go ahead. I don't recommend this game. If you have it on Game Pass for free, try it out. But it is not a good game. It is buggy as fuck. I had so many different bugs in the game. I had 3 different hard crashes, 1 soft lock. Just so many freaking issues. I also had one where I tried to do a lock, but because I was in ultra wide, which I forgot I was in ultra wide, it had the zoom on the lock completely wrong, so you couldn't see the top third of the minigame. Just terrible, that bug. It shouldn't have got through QA at all. Like, one person should have went onto an ultra wide, who went up to a fucking lock and went, oh, this lock thing's out of position, huh? No, not doing that. Anyway, the part of the game is you're a KGB agent and you are being asked by our old friend to check out his sick-ass technology that he's about to release in a couple of days in sort of like a pre-fashion showing, because it's about to be rolled out across the world. These are meant to be the next generation of robot AI to be controlled by human consciousness at a whim, rather than walking up to the AI, conversing with it, and then it goes, oh, okay, that's what you want me to do, and goes and does it. Instead, you just think, do this, and then the robot does it. But it turns out this new consciousness AI activates the combat mode of every single robot in the facility. And that combat mode was designed by your friend, the KGB intelligence leader, who was also the leader of the sciences at Russia. You then get real annoyed at him for doing this, and you go and try to kill him. That's the major plot of the game. Throughout this, you learn this information by two people. One who is the third person in charge of this whole operation, who designs a lot of the AI of the robots, specifically the ballerina robots. He tells you that he wanted to expose the combatness of all these robots because he doesn't believe that it was right, and that's why he started the events that happen in Atomic Heart, which makes all the robots go crazy and try to kill everyone. His girlfriend, who is just Dr. Lady, who is just a generic character put in to shove exposition down your throat in the last third of the game. The middle portion of the game, literally nothing happens except for you going from point A to point B to beat various robots up while you chase down this third in charge guy and this Dr. Lady. And then once the third in charge guy dies, you're now told to bring his head to a facility so that all of the information in his head can be analyzed to prevent the robots from staying in combat mode, because he had secret codes in his head, and that's why he killed himself, to not let the secret codes escape. Why he killed himself in front of P3, I got no freaking idea. Why he didn't just, go out into the middle of the ocean and drown himself and then shred his head, I don't know. We then bring it to second in charge guy, who literally is just a gopher. He's like a personal assistant of the main antagonist, and he goes, well, I'll take care of his head, and then the Dr. Lady throws a grenade and kills him. That's literally how he dies. It's fucking terrible. We then leave the facility and Dr. Lady says, hey, I got news for you. Come to the lighthouse and we'll talk about it. And so you go to the lighthouse after you fight a weird water robot thing that was inside of a whale. This is a really bad boss fight, by the way. It just had no rhyme or reason to it. It had this weird red polymer coming out of it for some reason, I guess to make you know that red polymer is evil polymer, but it has no reason for being there. It was like, we made this boss fight. Should we put it in the game right here? Yeah, it seems pretty good right there. I'll put it right there. Why are you putting the boss fight here? It had served no purpose. It literally just delayed the game by having a pointless boss fight for the sake of having a pointless boss fight. We then argue with the Charles AI, which, by the way, throughout the entire game, Charles and fucking P3 are constantly yapping. Yap, the entire time. It was so exhausting just listening to them yap. Luckily, I was playing in Russian, so I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I could just tune them out entirely. Much better game that way. Play in non-English so you're not hearing them fucking talking the entire time. Literally in the middle of combat, they would be yapping the entire combat while I'm busy trying to focus on the gameplay, going shut the fuck up, but they just wouldn't shut up. They just keep talking and talking and talking. It's just Which brings me to Mick Gordon made the music of this game, and he did a fantastic job when the soundtrack actually plays, because when the soundtrack plays, it fucking rocks. It is awesome. Mick is still a fantastic artist. All of that shit that was happening with Doom Eternal and all that, I feel sorry for him, but that's how it is sometimes. He's still a fantastic artist and did a fantastic job in this game. It just sometimes doesn't play, and sometimes when it does play, it kinda just doesn't make any sense. For example, in this fucking combat section, which I may just show in full right here. It's fantastic. It fits, it works well, it's great. And then it starts playing again for one solitary enemy for no reason. It's jank, it's zero jank. So continuing on the story, we get to the lighthouse, we then go down to the depths of the lighthouse and we end up in what might as well be Rapture, an underwater secret facility for human experimentation, where we find out that the main antagonist is trying to use the second version of the AR, of the network, to not just make people be able to control the robots, but to control the people who are trying to control the robots by literally mind controlling the entire population on Earth. Which kind of is just like, okay, I guess. I mean, I guess that's one way to go about world domination, but why'd you make the murder robots if you're just gonna do mind control? Was murder robots plan A and mind control plan B? And you were like, I can't decide between plan A, which costs trillions of dollars, and plan B, which costs trillions of dollars. I'll do them both. What? So anyway, we go through this, we find out that people are being mind controlled, and then, because we've been blacking out throughout the game and killing everyone around us when we black out, we find out that we also have this technology in our head, so we're being mind controlled when those events are happening, and we're being controlled by the main antagonist when these are happening. Addendum needed here for later. We find out that Charles, who was our hand companion the entire time, was the second lead scientist to the main antagonist, and they were best friends, and they'll both have their hands in literally both of these projects. So our hand is also evil, and he's like, yo, I got killed by the main antagonist, we should get vengeance on him, everything will be great if we do that. And so we go and get vengeance. And then turns out, well, after we have some pretty badly designed boss fights with the twins, as they're called, which turns out to be our wife. At the last second, they were like, oh, how do we make these twins robot things more connected to the protagonist in this game? Oh, how about their dead wife? That there's two robots. Yeah, they're like split personality into both the robot, but it's not actually the dead wife. It's actually just the combat prowess and ballerina aspects of the dead wife. We copied that specific ability from the dead wife, but not actually the dead wife itself. Why is this? Who cares? They're just robot bodyguards. They don't need a fucking backstory. They don't need to be the fucking protagonist's wife for no reason. Literally no reason. So we beat up the twins, and then we have a showdown with the antagonist. And the showdown is, you just shoot him in the stomach, and he goes, oh, I'm dying. But I was not the evil one. It was your hand. And then, plot twist, your hand shocks you, stuns you, and then escapes from your hand, and then goes into a conveniently placed tub and turns into a polymer man and goes, I was actually the evil person all along. Wah, wah, wah. And that's the end of the game. I'm serious, that's the end of the game. There was a good ending, and the good ending is right before this fight, you rip out fucking Charles from your hand and goes, you're the one that's going to be the cause of this. And it ends. It's just none of the fucking main antagonist's ideas make any sense. If he knew the hand was evil when we go to confront him, he wouldn't just say, twins, eliminate. He'll be like, yo, my dude, it's your hand. Your hand's evil. It is? That doesn't make any sense. I can prove it to you. Right here, right now. Okay. Ah, you did prove it to me, yeah. Your hand's evil. I'm evil as well, though. Like, don't get me wrong. We're both evil. Oh. You're both evil, so you should both be dead? Yeah, we should both be dead. Oh, okay. Bam, kill him. Bam, rip the hand out. And then you walk away with both twin robots underneath your arms, you know? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? If I had to give a score for Atomic Heart, I'd probably give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It loses so many points for jankiness. It loses so many points for just horrible, insipid conversation constantly happening. Just as bad as Forspoken. And it has the same bad ending as Forspoken, where, guess what? Your companion this entire game, he was evil! Like, why? Why have 2 games this year had incredibly annoying companions that just talk endlessly, and both companions turn out to be evil? What is going on this year? 2 games in less than a month, both of them companion evil. Both of them companion and protagonist never shut the fuck up the entire time. Both of them are insufferable. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I will say, Atomic Heart probably better than Forspoken. Just a little bit. But, like, come on. I mean, at least Forspoken didn't have hard crashes. Like, I hard crashed 3 times in this game. Soft locked 1 time in this game. It's just, I don't even know. Like, I soft locked on the final boss fight. So I had to redo the final boss fight again after just dying to the final boss fight a few times, because it's like, what am I doing? This fight makes no sense. It's just 6.5 out of 10. I don't usually give number ratings because, like, I think it should be about, you know, us showing you the game, talking about the game, and then letting you decide for yourself, rather than us just saying, this is what it is. But man, oh man, there's so many good things in Atomic Heart. If it was just given to a QA team and then you actually listen to the QA team, it could have been so much better. I don't know if the consoles crash and hard crash like the PC version does. I don't know if there's a soft lock in the console versions. I don't even know how you would play this game on console, because I was struggling with a fucking mouse and keyboard in the combat. No idea how you would do it with a fucking controller in your hand. It would not work. I don't envy anyone playing this game on any of the harder difficulties. I was playing it on normal. I wasn't playing it on hard, wasn't playing it on easy. I was playing it on normal, and it was just annoying. So if you're playing this on hard, don't. If you're playing this on easy, you might as well. But it wasn't a hard game to beat, it was just annoying. I don't recommend getting this game. I don't. If you have to desperately find out what's going on, I'd spoil it for you already. And 2, I mean, just watch all the cutscenes with the twins. That's all you really care about. There's like 4 different channels that have done all of the twin robot cutscenes. So let's go watch that. Good day, I'm Kris. See you later.